play a few songs by Nina Simone, or I did play a few songs by Nina Simone before our live stream got interrupted. Um, just honoring her. Yesterday was her birthday. She was born on February the 21st, 1933. Okay. And yesterday I was live, and Brother Knowledge Born, he slid through in the chat and he was like, Doc, don't forget today is not Nina Simone's birthday. And I'm like, oh, she's one of my sheroes. I love her. I love her. I love her. I love her. Her music was very politically charged, extremely. One of my favorite songs from her was Mississippi Goddamn. And I remember I used to let Jalen listen to the song, and that was his favorite part because she said damn. So he'd be giggling in the backseat when she would say Mississippi Goddamn, and she called out, the governor down there. And so she was, this woman was powerful. She used her music to teach. She used her music to advocate. She used her music to raise awareness. She used her music for healing. She was just a phenomenal woman. They have a beautiful documentary on her on Netflix, and I watched it some years ago, and I fell in love with Nina Simone. To me, she was bold, black, and beautiful. She was bold, she was black, and she was beautiful. And so this was a clip I put up years ago. Matter of fact, it says 7 years ago, I put this clip on my Ed Anime Productions page. Hold on. On the Ed Anime Productions page, I put this clip of Nina Simone talking about Black people. And she was talking about how we are a beautiful people. But she said, it's like, she said she called us like a lost race because she's like, it's like we don't know where we come from. There's so many missing pieces. But I'll let the ancestor speak for herself. Here we go.
We talk about where we came from. We don't know. It's like a lost race. It's about themselves. We don't know anything about ourselves. We don't even have the pride and the dignity of African people. But we can't even talk about where we came from. We don't know. It's like a lost race. It's about
So she was just saying that she was getting on Black folks back then. She's like, damn, we don't even have, she said, the pride. You get what I'm saying, of African people. She said, it's like, it's like we don't know where we come from. So in this clip, in my opinion, she's acknowledging, that disconnect. She's acknowledging what the Maafa, what the period of enslavement and colonization, did to our people. And what it did was it disconnected us, from our family, from our land, and from our culture, And so I remember, I think it was Dr. John Henry Clark or Dr. Ben in one of their lectures. I forgot which ancestor it was. You all can tell me in the chat. But I want to say it was Dr. John Henry Clark who said the African who got on the boat was not the African who got off the boat. Ashe. And so anyway, family, she's talking about that, the things that we were stripped of that resulted in us being who we are today. And she was talking about that lack of self-pride that we should have, that we don't have because of a lack of knowledge, knowledge of self. Ashe. And so anyway, family, a lot of hip hop artists, they sample Nina Simone. I know that Kanye West has, Jay-Z has. Shout out to Rhapsody. She has an album called Eve where she dedicated maybe 12 to 15 songs to Black women. Her first track is called Nina, and she goes all the way in. She samples Nina Simone singing Strange Fruit. So we know that Billie Holiday sang it first, but Nina Simone did, her version of it, and Rhapsody sampled the track. And so it was really, really hot. Really, really hot track called Nina Simone. And so make sure you all check that out. I would play it, but the live stream may be, interrupted again. So anyway, family, shout out to the My Audience family that's in the building. Thank you so much for tuning in. I won't be before you long, but I will be strong. Ashe. So please let folks know that I'm live. If you're on Twitter, tweet the link. If you're on Facebook, share the link. Let them know that I'm live. Let's get the views up. If you notice, I've been trying to go live at least for an hour, almost every day, every other day. So make sure you join me back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to bring on some of my students from Morgan State University to talk about Black history, but we're going to talk about Blacks in STEM. right? And so they have some presentations, beautiful presentations, that they are going to show the family tomorrow at 11 a.m. So make sure you tune in. And if you tune in with your child if you're able to. I know some children will probably be in school, but if you can later on, make sure that you watch it with your children. What I've noticed about young people like watching young people. Okay, we get up there and we start talking about Black history. Young people are like, whatever. But you get a young person up there talking about Black history, then they become, excited, engaged, and interested. And so it's always good to put young people in front of young people, Ashe. And so I have some young people coming in between the ages of 20 and 21 presenting tomorrow at 11 a.m. on this channel. Then on Friday at 7:30 Standard Time, I have some young people, elementary and middle school age, coming on to present their research. Namely, shout out to PLM and Mama Ife and Baba Imhotep. Their son, Nyame, will be on Friday to give us a presentation on Mali, Ghana, and Songhai. Okay, and so Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. So he's going to give a presentation on that on Friday at 7:30 p.m. So I got the young folks coming on tomorrow and Friday. But peace to Brother Knowledge Born. Brother Knowledge Born, I see you, brother. How are you? Can't hear you, brother. Brother Knowledge Born. It came on. They came on. Oh,
Peace,
there you
peace.
go. There you
There
go.
we
There you
go.
go.
Big
Peace and
Holy
love to
Black
you,
Power.
King.
How are you feeling? How are you
BB
feeling?
588 to you, warrior. Hey, I just finished talking about Nina Simone. Do you want to, before I move to Malcolm X, do you want to, do you want to share your sentiments
I
about our
definitely
beloved,
do.
yeah,
I
about our
definitely
beloved
do.
ancestor?
First, I have to say thank you and always give homage and honor to you, Dr. Maat, for continuing to speak truth to power, to live truth to power, and also to invite truth to power mind mappers onto your platform for this Truth to
Ashe.
Power series, and for always giving honor and paying homage to our ancestors,
Ashe.
to those elders amongst us, those great minds that are living, our peer group, those in our contemporary space, and most especially our youth, our ancestors in
Ashe.
turn. So
Ashe.
you do a phenomenal job in highlighting and celebrating those who have departed from our physical space, the elders who seemingly have been forgotten oftentimes because of the bridge and the gap of history in regards from one generation to the next, our contemporaries and most especially our youth. It's like our elders and our youth. We just be out there in the wind. We be looking for what's hot and what's available and who popping and this and that. And in this virtual space, it makes it even more convoluted. But you
Yeah,
still find
absolutely.
a way in your infinite wisdom to bridge a gap for us all, for those who qualify, because everybody don't qualify to be up
Ashe.
here. So I'm
Ashe.
honored to be qualified to be up here with my African warrior sister. She is a divine woman, a scholar, and a shining example. So I got to give
Ashe.
you your love first. You
Ashe.
understand?
Ashe.
And it's so close to Nina Simone in my spirit. Like I was jamming with you. You understand? I was rocking with you, and the music selections you were playing. She is, the high priestess of soul, and
Mm.
she's personified in a space of beauty and honor. And they try her best to defame her, as they've done with many of the African warrior sisters in our history. And that's another thing I
Mm-hmm.
have to pay homage to you for, reforming, reshaping, and reminding us of that narrative of righteousness that goes along with our sisters, especially with all of the foolishness. I saw your previous broadcast uh, with the good doctor on talking about the passport cats and all of that other stuff and divestors. You understand what I'm saying? You're divesting from your womb space, the
Come on.
space that gave you life, that space that sustained you, the space that no matter what you did in the world, you could always count on mother. You know, so you're divesting from your mother. You understand? So like, don't get me started with that. On that one, Dr. Ma. But I wanted to say thank you in that space for continuing on a legacy of reminding us from whence we came. On every
Ashe.
level. So
Ashe.
she reminded us. One of the things that she said that she wanted to persuade us by hook or crook
Mm,
about our lineage, about who we were as black people. You see what I'm saying? She said we're the
mm-hmm.
most fantastic people in the world, and we come from a culture that's second to none, but we don't know anything about it.
Yep.
So she used her art form, she used her platform, she used her multiplicity of talents and skills, her pen, to show our plight and our pain in her own mind, in that creative space. Brilliant. The high priestess of soul, our queen mother, Nina Simone. So I just wanted to say that real quick. I get inspired, get fired up when we start talking about our sisters.
Absolutely. And I was looking at some of her pictures online. She was unapologetically black, unapologetically African. She wore her hip wraps. She wore her natural hair. But this was around the Black Power movement time. This was around the Black Power movement. You know what I mean? Like during that time, we talking about the late 60s to the middle 70s. This was around that time period. So she wore her fro, she wore her head wraps, and just to reiterate what you said, she wanted us to know who we are, and she wanted us to rediscover our greatness, and her music did just that. I mean, she was brilliant. They talk about her different things. Oh, she suffered from bipolar and depression and different things, of that nature. And like you said, brother Knowledge Born, they try to, what, like you said, what they do with all of our greats, they just can't be great. It has to be something wrong. She did this and then she did that. And, people talk about, who she was married to. I think she ended up marrying a white dude or something like that and having a child. I want to say he was a white guy. They talked about that on the documentary. And so people try to bring that up. But nonetheless, you can't refute what she brought to the community, and what she gave to the world. So you can say what you want to say about Nina, but you cannot refute her impact on the community and her impact on the world and her legacy, that the legacy that has outlived her, and which is going to probably outlive you. And I'm talking about the haters. So they throw rocks at her, but her legacy, we're still talking about Nina Simone. When did she pass? Let me see the date that she passed. On she passed in 2003. 2003. She passed April the 21st. Wow, she was born February the 21st, 1933, and passed on April the 21st, 2003. Shout out to King Simon. He probably could break that down for us.
Right.
But yeah, this woman, she's been gone since 2003, and we still talking about her. We
And
still
her
talking about
music,
Nina.
how many of the R&B artists and hip hop artists have used her music? How many times has her
I said that
songs
earlier.
been in scores of movies and all of that? Like when she said, "I put a spell on you," yes, she did.
Come on.
You
Come on.
understand what I'm saying? Like literally, she captivated the entire planet with her majesty. It wasn't just in the spaces. And if I could say something to the other part, for her skin complexion,
Come on.
oftentimes
Come on.
a
Say
lot,
it, Knowledge.
that beautiful skin complexion that she came and she championed for many of us who would hide in the shadows, who would not be put in the forefront. She gave that kind of style and that kind of elegance that they made characters off of. Catwoman was inspired by her, one of them. You know, uh, everything that we loved about Eartha Kitt, who was the original Catwoman, all of that elegance came along with that Nina Simone era. So from the skin tone, her frame, her consciousness, she said that she would go against the Klansmen shotgun for shotgun.
Ha!
So the boldness, in the face of the world.
Come
So
on.
this is why they would placate and try to go to these other spaces because of her stance. She said she was owed some money, and it was like, "We're going to stab him." She said, "No, I was going to shoot him." You understand what I'm saying? There was no, every sense and core of her being. She was unapologetically herself and
Yes, she was.
unapologetically with her culture. And those things, you would think like nowadays it's quasi attractive to black men. Like they be talking about they want a real sister and blah 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 and all this other stuff. It was very, very, very fleeting, as it was for the brothers on the other side who were strong black men and unapologetically strong as black men. Our enemies are very attracted to them, very attracted to them,
Oh yeah.
and so we could look at it on both angles. For her to stand as strong as she was and who she is still in her personage, that attraction comes. And just like our brother, Alhaji Miguel Shabazz, brother Omawali, his strength. You see what I'm saying? So these are all things that go along with those character traits of strong people. We be thinking we got to change and flip up and mix up and start changing up our dialogue and all of these other things to be accepted and welcomed within the dominant society. You know exactly who you are.
Come on.
You see what I'm saying? So, that's another credence that I give to you for standing strong in your station and in your push for those young African minds that you cater to, that you teach, that you motivate, that you inspire, and that you push to their greatness. They don't just go to their greatness. They're like, oh yeah, this is easy. Like, nah, Dr. Maat got us working. Dr. Maat got us
Oh, they'll
researching.
tell you. They'll
She's
tell you
hard on
tomorrow.
us. Yeah,
They're
that's
gonna
a
tell you
real
tomorrow.
thing.
They're gonna
That's
tell
a
you
real
tomorrow.
thing. Yeah, I seen some stuff on Rate My Professor. You understand what I'm saying? They're like,
Oh yeah, I don't play.
yeah,
I don't
right.
play. But Rate My Professor, I gotta be real. I'm glad you brought that up. I can't stand that platform because I've noticed, and the professors and we talk about that. You have students who are disgruntled with professors who they get upset and then they write a bad review about you. You understand what I'm saying? Because they fail your class. But they won't get on Rate My Professor and say, oh, I took, Doc's class and, I didn't put in the work. I didn't put in the effort. As a result, I failed. They'll blame, we live in this era where it's lack of self accountability. So it's everybody's fault but ours. You know what I mean? It's like I told my students today, it takes courage to conduct introspection. It takes courage to sit there and look at what you did wrong. Typically when we get in situations that don't feel so good, we point to everybody, right? Oh, it's my mother's fault, my daddy's fault, it's my children's fault, it's my boyfriend's fault, it's my girlfriend's fault, it's my husband's fault. We never sit back and self-analyze. We never sit back and introspect and say, what did I do to cause this situation? So what I noticed is that like Rate My Professor is almost a place for mediocre students to come and vent about professors. The A students aren't on Rate My Professor. The A students, you don't hear them writing. They go, they take a professor, they get an A, they keep on going. It's always those disgruntled students that that you had to give them an F. And it's not that you gave them an F. They earned the F. All I did was assess you. All I did was assess your performance, right? And it became a space for them to say, well, don't take this professor because this professor gives homework, quizzes, and exams. You want to take the easy A professor because in this young generation's mind, they think that the easy professors, oh man, did he freeze or did I freeze? Tell me in the chat, guys. Did I freeze or did you freeze? They'll let me know. Yeah, they'll let me know in the chat. But what I've noticed is that this generation thinks that professors who just pass them along care about them. That's what they believe. They believe that that the professors who the professors who just pass them along actually care about them, and that's not the case, right? Exactly. Lalo Love, exactly. She said microwave. They want it fast. So they exactly. They don't want to work for anything. They just want you to give them they want you to give them the A and they want to move on. So then you go to Rate My Professor and I noticed that if you go to all of the different professors in the department who actually challenge the students and hold them to high expectations and standards, all of them have bad ratings. All of them. The professors that just pass these students along have excellent ratings. But like I told them, And I always call them finessers. I told them in the end, finessers finesse themselves. They start laughing. Doc, what do you mean finessers? Because that's the lingo that they use. I always tell them, knowledge born, finessers finesse themselves because you're paying thousands of dollars to attend an institution to obtain knowledge and skills that you can utilize in the world. So if you don't get that, and then you go into the world and you lack the knowledge and skills to be successful as engineers, who got finessed? Did you really? That's why I say finessers finesse themselves. Who actually got finesse? You got finesse. Because when you get out there on a job and you walk out there with your black skin and your HBCU degree, the perception is going to be that you don't know, that you're not a competent engineer anyway. And when you prove them to be right, they're going to fire you. And so I told them you're going to end up in Amazon and Chick-fil-A and Walmart, like everybody else, with an electrical engineering degree in your back pocket. So I don't knock people who work for, let me be clear, who work for Amazon, Walmart, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A. I don't care if you're a daggone janitor, because I feel like all occupations make the world go round. Now, what I will criticize you if you become a janitor after you spent 4 or 5 years at an institution and you couldn't go out here and compete, and then you end up being a janitor. Yes, I have something to say about that. And there are some students that I've seen after graduation who said, Doc, you were right. Tag, I should have listened to you. I was clowning around. I went to Lockheed Martin, man. After 2 years, they fired me. I should have listened to you. I'm with my in Walmart. Oh man, are they showing up? They the delivery person ringing my doorbell, knowledge born. I said, Dad, what? You were in my such and such class. Yeah, I got fired. I was over at Northrop Grumman, or I was at Apple, man, and they fired me. So anyway, knowledge born. I had to, as soon as you brought up rate my professor, I had to give you my thoughts on that
I
website.
love it. I saw some good things about you though. Like if people don't know you, they might try to go off of that, but your character, your work ethic, who you are, you see all of these things shine through. So some of them things, no matter what, no matter who, you see what I'm saying. I saw some great things about you, and just knowing that I couldn't work for you. You see what I'm saying? I don't have the skill set. You know what I mean? Like I don't got what it
Oh
takes.
no, come on, come on. Yes, you do. Yes, you
I
do.
got what it takes. Like them expectations is the truth. Look, I heard it from your children. Okay, I heard it from your family. All
Oh
right,
yeah, no
so
doubt. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But I had to put it out there. I can't stand that website, man. It's like, ooh, it's like a loser's breeding ground. I don't know. But it says right here, look at this knowledge born. The Washington Post, Malcolm X's family to sue CIA, FBI, NYPD in 100 million wrongful death lawsuit. I don't have my glasses on, family, so I'm gonna turn the computer this way and try to read it as best I can. So it says the family of civil rights leader Malcolm X announced on the anniversary of his 1965 assassination that they intend to sue U.S. government entities, including the FBI, CIA, and New York Police Department for $100 billion. Allegedly, they played a part in his easy death. They should sue their butts for $100 billion if they could get it, brother Knowledge Born. Because, and let me say something, because Knowledge Born, they can prove this. I mean, this is the evidence the evidence is coming out, has come out. A lot of records are being uncovered and being unsealed. And so they can easily prove that the CIA, FBI, and NYPD were complicit, in the assassination of our beloved ancestor Malcolm X. So it says right here, attorneys detailed the forthcoming lawsuit at a news conference Tuesday at the same Manhattan location where the religious and civil rights leader was shot and killed 58 years ago. It says right here, we want justice served for our father. And I pray that they get it. This long overdue. Said one of his daughters. Okay. It says an administrator of Malcolm X's estate. She spoke at the news conference alongside her sister, Corbella. I don't know if I butchered that, or Corbella. So it says right here, the circumstances surrounding Malcolm X's death have long been shrouded in mystery. It says the two men who were convicted of murdering the activists were exonerated in 2021 after serving decades in prison. And I heard brother Knowledge Born that they're actually suing. They're getting ready to get a couple of dollars, I heard. So it says the New York district attorney admitted that the case against them was flawed and that the law enforcement at that time withheld evidence. That's why I said this is going to be a slam dunk. This is going to be a slam dunk, for the family, right? So it says right here, the move renewed public interest in the case. Well, I don't know what they mean by renewed public interest. Maybe they're talking about white folks, but black folks, we've never stopped talking about the assassination of brother Malcolm X. That has been a long-going debate. You have right in the community, we're going at each other. People are still mad at the Nation of Islam because they're saying the Nation of Islam was complicit in it. The Nation of Islam is denying it, and they're saying we're not involved. You got Dr. Wesley Muhammad and his organization or his research team. They're combating, the information out there regarding the nation being, complicit in the assassination plot. Then you have shout out to Baba Zach Kondo. I had a conversation with Baba today. Baba saying, yes, you all were. And so this has never stopped. This has never stopped being a discussion in the black community. But anyway, it says the move renewed public interest in the case and fueled long-held conspiracy theories about the possibility and culpability of law enforcement, particularly the NYPD. All right, so it says right here, Aisha Shabazz took the first steps required under New York law by anyone planning to sue the state, filing notices of claim that said government entities at the federal and local level in New York conspired with each other and with other individuals and acted and failed to act in such a way as to bring about the wrongful death of Malcolm X. She's gonna be easy. They're gonna prove that easily, brother Knowledge Born, because they did. They knew what was going on. They were watching him like a hawk. So they had the wiretaps. They had the tapes. They were watching him everywhere he went, even when he went, to Africa, right? They were following him around in Africa. They were following him around here. They were listening to him. They were watching his every move. So if somebody wanted to harm them, they knew about it and didn't intervene. They allowed it to happen. Okay. They allowed it to happen. It says at the news conference, civil rights attorney Ben Crump, you already know he's a hearse chaser. He's a hearse chaser. So we know that he's going to be involved, family, no matter what. Benjamin Crump is going to be there no matter what. Like I said, him and Jesse, they soon as somebody, people not even in the damn ground cold. And Jesse and Benjamin Crump are on the take. Okay. So I knew he was going to be in the mix. So it says right here, at the news conference, civil rights attorney Ben Crump appeared to put an even finer point on it, asked directly by a journalist if he thought government agencies were involved in the conspiracy to assassinate Malcolm X. Crump replied, "That is what we are alleging, yes." I guess because he's an attorney, he has to play it right. But I would have been in that. I'd have been in that conference like, hell yeah, they was. But I guess he got to say yes. That's what we're alleging, So it says the CIA did not respond to a request for comment Wednesday. Spokespeople for the FBI, NYPD, and New York District Attorney's Office declined to comment. Of course, they're not going to comment. So it says Malcolm X was assassinated on February the 21st. So while Nina Simone was born on February the 21st, 1933, while Malcolm X was assassinated on February the 21st, 1965. Can you imagine her hearing that news on her birthday? So she was 32 when he was assassinated. So can you imagine, turning on the news, or she turning on the news and hearing that he was assassinated? It says when he was just 39 years old. 39 years old. It says he was shot while preparing to give a speech at the Audubon Ballroom. It says a bodyguard shot once at the assailant trying to flee the scene. Talmadge Hayer and captured him. And oh my goodness, shout out to Dr. Wesley Muhammad. I brought him on, and he talked a lot about Talmadge Hayer, and he even brought on, I believe, like the first cousin of Talmadge Hayer, And I mean, the family kind of they put it out there what Thomas Hayer's involvement was, in the assassination of Malcolm X. So family, make sure that you go back. And matter of fact, I'll find it for you. Let me pull it up right now, and I'll drop the link in the chat of Dr. Wesley Muhammad and I.
That was an excellent broadcast.
Oh man, I had to listen to it like I had to listen to it, brother Knowledge Born, like 2 or 3 times, man. Going
Right.
back and oh my goodness. Okay, here it is. I'm trying to get the link for the people. Oh, where is it? Dr. Wesley. Oh, there we go, family. I'm up here looking for it.
You got to sift through them Dr. Wesley files. Dr. Wesley been up
I
here a
know. Oh
couple of
my,
times. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know. And then it's like
Over
when
the
I type,
years.
yeah, when I type in my name, is next to his name, nothing pops up. So let me see. I'm typing my whole name. There we go. Dr. There you go. Wesley Muhammad. Here we go. Identifying and addressing pseudo history. Here we go, family. This is the link. I'm going to drop this in the chat. So check this out, family, when you get an opportunity. Check this out when you get the opportunity. So it says right here, Thomas Hayer had captured him. Okay. Hayer, who goes by Abdul, you got to say that for me. Mujahid,
Mujahid. Yeah.
Mujahid Abdul Halim. Okay. It says later confessed to killing Malcolm X. He spent 45 years in prison and was released on parole in 2010. Well, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, his research, doing his research, he said he learned that he really didn't spend like 45 years there. Like it was kind of like he was there sometimes and they let him out, at night and then, or let him go home on the weekend. It wasn't really like a hard 45-year stint that he did. So it says, and was released on parole in 2010. It says, however, Hayer long insisted that the 2 other men were arrested and jailed for the crime. Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam, both members of the Nation of Islam, were innocent. They talk about the affidavit a lot that he wrote. And it says Hayer told authorities in 1977 that he planned the killing with 4 different men because they were incensed by Malcolm X's public feud with Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad. It says right here, after decades in prison, Aziz, who previously went by the name of Norman 3X Butler, was paroled in 1985. Islam, who went by Thomas 15X Johnson, was paroled in 1987. They were the subject of the Netflix documentary Who Killed Malcolm X. I watched the documentary, and I mean, even like Dr. Wesley Muhammad, even Dr. Zach Kondo and Baba Zach Kondo, and even Thomas Hayer's. No, it wasn't Thomas Hayer's cousin, guys. I got it messed up. He brought on the cousin of the police officer Ray,
Right.
who was there. I'm sorry, guys. So I stand corrected. Of about 5 or 10 minutes ago, I said that when Dr. Wesley Muhammad came on, he brought on, I said the cousin of Talmadge Hayer, and that is incorrect. He brought on the cousin of Ray, who was the NYPD officer who was there and who admitted, on his deathbed to be complicit in the plot. That's who he brought on. So my apologies. But anyway, both of them said that this documentary there were a lot of inaccuracies, and falsehoods uttered in this documentary on Netflix. But nonetheless, I did watch it. It says it came out the same year as the New York District Attorney began to reinvestigate the case. Following a review of the available evidence from the case, New York District Attorney's Office recommended that the 2 men's first-degree murder convictions be vacated. All right, we almost done, family. So it says right here, the office also acknowledged law enforcement failings in the case. It said the FBI NYPD did not honor the obligation to disclose exculpatory evidence to prosecutors and the accused, including information that implicated other suspects, that identified witnesses who failed to identify defendant Islam, and that revealed witnesses to be FBI. And that revealed witnesses to be FBI FBI informants. Dr. Wesley Muhammad family has been saying this for years. He said a lot of those people, even the guys in there who claim to be a part of the nation, he called them FBI assets. That's what he called it. But you see right here, family, it says right here, the office also acknowledged law enforcement failings in the case. It said that the FBI and NYPD did not honor their obligation to disclose exculpatory evidence to prosecutors and the accused, including, and this is quotes, information that implicated other suspects, right? That identified witnesses who failed to identify defendant Islam, and that revealed witnesses to be FBI informants. That is illegal, brother Knowledge Born. Like if the witness is a FBI informant, and you have the right to face your accusers, right? Like, so if this is no, wow. This, boy, they said the rabbit hole goes deep. So it says it is said FBI records suggested that information was deliberately withheld. Of course, it says last October, Aziz and the estate of Khalil Islam received, wow, $36 million settlement from the city of New York. I thought they were in the process of getting it. I had no idea, brother Knowledge Born, that they actually got it. So it says the estate. So they actually, these brothers, so they did their time. Let me go back up. So Islam and Aziz, they did their okay. So at the decades of imprisonment, Aziz, who previously went by the name of Norman 13 Butler, he was paroled. So both of them were paroled in the 80s. And then they ended up receiving $36 million settlement. Wow, from the city of New York, it says the city's law department said in a settlement at the time that it agreed with the former Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus R. Vance Jr.'s conclusion that the men had been wrongfully convicted. So it says Crump said Tuesday that the city's settlement and the district attorney's conclusions made it possible to build a case for wrongful death against authorities involved in the 1965 investigation and gave Malcolm's daughters an opportunity to seek legal redress. Finally, it says if the government compensated the two gentlemen, come on, that were wrongfully convicted for the assassination of Malcolm X with tens of millions of dollars, then what is to be the compensation for the daughters who suffered the most from the assassination of Malcolm X? Crump asks. He got a point. Says attorney Ray Hamlin, whom Crump identified as his co-counsel, said that family members of Malcolm X involved in the prospective lawsuit include, his daughters, okay, all of his daughters, and it says another one of Malcolm X's daughters who died in 2021. So his daughters, and I believe he had 4, right?
6.
Oh, he had 6. I thought he had 4. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
All right.
Malika died a day or so after the guys was released from prison. So yeah, I mean, you start. I know you're reading. I just wanted to.
No, chime in whenever you feel like it, brother. Chime in. Wow. So
when you look at the losses that was suffered by the family in totality, Malcolm Latif Shabazz was killed. They connected him with Dr. Betty Shabazz's untimely demise in regards to the fire that was set in the house. Malcolm is killed. The state and the federal government came after Dr. Betty Shabazz to try to break up the home, to take the children out, to say that she was unfit, to say that she was mentally unstable. This is why I said what I said in regards to, Queen Mother Nina Simone, because this is a tactic that's used. They came after Malcolm's mother and broke up his family early on. He had, 5 siblings, 6 of them all together. They were all, taken away as wards of the state, basically, in regards to their homes being broke up. Like the atrocities that's associated with the family alone. You look at the family, you look at the legacies of the family, being tarnished and drugged through the mud, and then having to relive this kind of trauma every generation. So just even that, from, Ilyasa is like one of the younger daughters. but she's like the spokesperson for the family, you know. So, you know, she's there trying to show them, you know, these things. It's a lot of things that are connected uh, together in regards to just them as a family and then their family legacy. You know,
Mm.
these atrocities that come along with, you know, standing up for our people. So definitely, and Malika was one of the twins whom Dr. Betty Shabazz was pregnant with when Malcolm X was assassinated in front of her
Oh,
face.
oh my gosh.
So just putting that together in regards to, you know, the story.
No, absolutely. No, thank you for adding that. Thank you for that, your input. And so it says right here, this is the last paragraph. It says, speaking briefly from the podium during Tuesday's news conference, you said Ilyas Shabazz, who was in the room when Malcolm X was assassinated, describes her father as a man who gave his life for human rights. The truth about the circumstances leading to the death of our father is important, not only to his family, but to many followers, many admirers, many who look to him for guidance and for love, Shabazz said. All right, family, I'll drop this link in the chat just in case you want it. I'll drop this one in the chat as well. And so immediately, Brother Knowledge Born, as soon as I heard they were suing the family, I called um, Baba Zach. And I said, Baba Zach, I need to get you on this platform, Baba, because I want to, get your perspective on the assassination of Malcolm X. I said, I brought on, brother Dr. Wesley Muhammad several times to talk about this. And he's strong in his position. He's strong in his position. He stands in his position. And that, the members of the Nation of Islam who were involved in this were CIA, FBI assets. That's what he called them. And so he's strong in that. And so I asked Baba Zach, do you still feel like that the nation was involved in the assassination of Malcolm X? And Baba Zach is like, yeah, he got really passionate on the phone. He started talking to me, Knowledge Born, and he was just like, absolutely. Baba Zach was like, yeah. He's strong in his position, and he's adamant that the orders came from the top down. I mean, he's adamant about that. And I said, well, Baba, how do you feel about, Ilyas Shabazz saying, I think she went on Vlad TV and said some years ago that she doesn't think that the Nation of Islam was complicit in his death. And he was like, you got to remember, so a lot of stuff was going on. He mentioned one of the daughters, he said, Brother Knowledge Born, tried to assassinate Minister Farrakhan. So he brought that up. And so he was, I'm not sure, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. I want him to speak for himself, but I'm giving you guys my perception of what he was saying. I'm just interpreting. It seems like he was saying that happened, and then maybe something may have been possibly worked out, and that's why Ilyas Shabazz said, openly, like, no, they didn't have anything to do with it. So he was just saying some things he believes took place behind the scenes. But Baba Zach is strong in his position that that the nation was involved, and that that the orders came from the top down. And then, so he's saying that. And I said, well, what about, people are saying that it's documented that Elijah Muhammad said, don't hurt him, leave him alone, and so that's documented. So it's like, Brother Knowledge Born, is so many, oh my gosh, it's so many. I just can't wait until it all comes out. And I'm hoping that in this lawsuit that it all comes out, because we hear Dr. Wesley Muhammad and what he's saying, and and then we hear what Baba Zach is saying. And so with this lawsuit, I'm telling you, Brother Knowledge Born, I got a lot of stuff, because they're going to have to open up some files that weren't open before. Thinking about some recordings, Brother Knowledge Born, that weren't open before. And so I think there are going to be some revelations that's getting ready to come out. And I just hope that our people are mentally and emotionally and spiritually ready to hear some of these revelations that are getting, when they open, if they're suing for $100 million, yeah, some stuff is getting ready to drop. They're getting ready to, or they might just pay them off. They might just say, you know what, we don't want to go into any of that, 100 million, here you go. You know what I mean? But if they want to fight it, then some stuff is going to be uncovered. But if they don't fight, they're just going to hand them the $100 million, and we won't, just like with the $36 million, they did that, and I didn't hear anything about it. No one posted about it. We didn't talk about it, but these guys received $36 million last October. So sometimes they just pay you off really quickly, and then we'll never know. But I do intend on bringing Baba Zach Kondo on. I do agree, bringing him on this platform to give his perspective, on what took place. I believe he has a book out called Unraveling, the assassination of Malcolm X, and he's actually working on a new edition for it. He's still working on it. But I told him I'll touch base with him sometime in March and bring him on so that he could share his information. But what are your thoughts, Brother Knowledge Born, about the family suing the NYPD, the CIA, and the FBI for $100 million, and also the idea of, well, what about the nation? Because people are saying, well, what about the nation? Didn't they have something to do with it? So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think for the family, it's long overdue. It's justified. It's 58 years. 58 years. If I was to look at it like I would look at Fred Hampton Sr.'s case, every year, people from the Chicago Police Department, they go to his gravesite and they shoot up his gravesite every year. The Chicago police. You see what I'm saying? So
shoot up who's, Brother Osborne?
Fred Hampton Sr.
Fred Hampton Sr. Okay.
Yes, they go to his gravesite, and that's like a ritual that they do. So just think about the kind of trauma that you have to relive, for the stance. Like, so Ilyasa, like all of his daughters, these are daughters. There were no sons born, to Brother Malcolm. These are daughters who had to live their life after losing their father, tragically killed, being in the scene, in the place, like not like Fred Hampton Jr.'s case, like his wife, his mother was pregnant with him while Fred Hampton was being killed. They were there on the front row of the Audubon Ballroom. They could have been killed. They could have been injured by the stampede, by all of the ruckus that went on, and they were there, physically seeing their father being assassinated. And then all of the interlopers and all of the people that were sick of Malcolm X coming to the family disguised as friends, disguised as well-wishers, preying on the family, looking to divide the family. And Dr. Betty Shabazz, she wasn't a doctor at the time. She was still holding her family together, raising 6 children single-handedly, and working with other young women in the community. And, working in organizations, and also obtaining her advanced degree. She received a doctorate's degree. She went to school while she was doing everything else that she was doing. And they only had 32 years. Malcolm lived 39 years. Dr. Betty Shabazz lived 32 additional years after his assassination. And for her to transition in the way she did in the fire that would have claimed her life had Malcolm not risked his life to save her and those children in the fire. You see what I'm saying? Like, so it's like the fires continue to burn for these, 3 decades of her life, being challenged every kind of way and having things being said, not getting a chance to live a life. You see what I'm saying? Like, we have vicarious trauma that's associated with Black life in America, but what about directly? Directly. Just think about your life as a young Black woman. Anytime you go in to meet somebody, you don't know if somebody is your friend or your foe based off of who your parentage was. So now your mother and your father are gone. Your sister, she has a child, he a strange occurrence with his death. You see what I'm saying? So just think about all of the family suffered as a family just because of who they are as a family, not just, Black people in general, but who they are specifically as a family. So just look at that to where you're in a space where you never really truly get a chance to heal. You never really get a chance to grieve. You never really get a chance to, and then you have to put on this happy face everywhere you go because of your lineage.
Mm.
So there's a bunch that's associated with it from a psychological perspective, and then just as a young woman, you see what I'm saying? As young women, trying to live your life as a young black woman in America, and all of the things that's associated with that. So that's something, as far as that goes, that's insurmountable. There's no amount of money that they can pay for that. When they start talking about anguish and mental anguish and pain and suffering and all this other stuff that they begin to calculate when they start talking about a civil suit. These are things to take into account because nobody is levying and looking for criminal charges. They're saying, okay, restitution in this case. So that's one level. And then the other level in regards to everything else that's associated with this great man's life and his legacy, it's mixed up and fixed up too because the Nation of Islam wants to take credit for Malcolm, but they don't want to take this kind of credit for Malcolm. So that's a teetering that goes back and forth and say we made Malcolm and blah 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 and this and this and this, right? I mean, that's a claim that they can make. But what about these other things that are said? What are these other things? So if you take this, then you have to take this. So all of these things come together, and people have strong opinions and affinities based off of their connection. So your connection to the Nation of Islam in regards to some of the things that were said, you got to look at some of the recordings. So which ones are correct? February 14, 1965, his house was firebombed. February 15, he detailed the occurrence that happened at his house a day prior. You see what I'm saying? And who was responsible and how they were moving and what was happening in the Nation of Islam at that particular time. He detailed it in a speech. So is this correct? Or is this the correct thing about the FBI meeting with him and not implicating anybody in the Nation of Islam and them trying to offer him money, all of those things, that secret recording that came out that spoke to his character unto his death, is that correct? Or this other recording that comes out that's an attempt at Malcolm looking to get back into the Nation of Islam, is that correct? You see what I'm saying? So these recordings, all of these things that are surfacing, I don't think we got a fair assessment of what the relationship truly was at the time of Malcolm's death in regards to his standing with the Nation of Islam.
True.
And his relationship with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We don't know. I think that people from both sides have a stake in whatever they think is correct and whatever you want to find versus what the truth is. I mean, it's still left to be desired. So I think the same amount of mystery that's been associated with it all this time is still there until the truth comes out.
Until the truth comes out. And I agree 200% with what you just said. And this is my thing. If he wrote letters to get back into the Nation of Islam, show us the letters. Right. Or you could get a forensics person to verify that this was his handwriting. Show us the letters. I mean, you get what I'm saying, Knowledge Born? Like that, I've heard that letters were written to Elijah Muhammad that never reached him, of Malcolm X trying to get back into the nation. And this is my whole thing. Just can show us the letters. If you have the proof, show us the letters. And we can get a specialist to come in, a forensic specialist, to verify that this is his handwriting and go from there. I think that a lot I hear what you're saying. You're saying that we'll never know. And I do agree with that. And I just feel like if everybody is being forthright, then let's just be transparent, and put it all on the table. If you have the letters, show it. Where are the letters? Does the family has the letters? Do the nation has the letters? Like you said, what was the standing of their relationship? And like you said, we'll never know. We have, their side, scholar's side, what the family wants to share, what they don't want to share. we'll never know. But one thing we do know, Brother Knowledge Born, is that he's one of our greatest ancestors. He made a tremendous impact on us, on the community, on the world. Just like I said about Nina Simone, he did. So that's one thing that we do know about him. We have the tapes. We know what he believed in. We know, we saw his transformation. Shout out to I'm thinking about the autobiography of Malcolm X. So we got to understand who Malcolm Little was, right? And then who was Malcolm X, who was El Haj Malik Shabazz. So we got to see all of that stuff, and we got to learn that. We have his speeches, we have all of that stuff. And so those are the things that we do know. And I think that we should find, comfort in the things that we do know. I don't know if we should continue to worry so much, Brother Knowledge Born, about something that we don't know what really happened, on February the 21st, 1965. We don't know.
1965, yeah.
And so we're sitting in the Black community bickering with each other.
And
Oh, I don't
everybody's
support the
going
nation.
to protect their organization. Everybody's going.
Exactly.
They're going to protect their organization. The
Yeah, we
NYPD is going to protect themselves. FBI,
I
CIA.
go, yeah, see,
Everybody's going to protect it. Right. The
and
Nation
let's not
Islam is
forget
an
the nation. I was just
organization.
about to say
Right.
their
They're
organization.
going
They're
to
going to
protect their
protect
organization.
themselves.
So I mean,
Absolutely. And so we continue to bicker for another 50 years, internally, or do we take the lessons that he left, the information that he left, the knowledge that he left, and use that. You get what I'm saying, to push on. Do we do that? Do we still bicker back and forth and debate back and forth? Or do we move forward and push forward with the knowledge that we have? And I think I'm at that point. Like, I definitely want to hear, Baba Zach's perspective, on the matter. But I'm at a point, like, we got so much work to do, Brother Knowledge Born. And when you're nation building, man, you can't be sitting back arguing with people online about, frivolous stuff. Because arguing with you about it, how is that going to push us forward? And I think, Brother Knowledge Born, I'm at that place in my journey. Like, I really want to put my time and energy into what is going to push us forward as a people. So if it's healing, let's heal. If it's Black businesses, then let's build these Black businesses. If it's lobbying, if it's politics, then let's go. If it's getting some real estate, copping some land, building some homes, let's go. I want to know what's gonna, I want to be involved in things that are gonna push us forward. I don't mind having conversations. I mean, that's cool. I think that sometimes these dialogues are like my form of entertainment. My family laugh at me. They be like, "Oh, look at you watching another podcast. You watching that Black Power stuff so I watch it, like it feeds me. But I think that I'm just in a space where, like I just want to move forward. And I love Black people. I love our ancestor. I love the nation. People get mad with me. I can't believe, Dr. Maat, you aligned with the nation. Well, let me tell you something. Dr. Maat had some trying times here in Baltimore. And you know who was right there for Dr. Maat? The nation. When Dr. Maat started her program, MELTREK, and needed to sell copies, you know what brothers and sisters wrapped their arms around me? The nation. Dr. Maat received death threats online, death threats online, death threats to my home. You know who called me up to the podium and made the whole FOI stand up and said, "This woman is under our protection," and gave me the number to the captain and said, "If you have an issue and you see something, suspicious outside of your home, call this number." You know who did that, Brother Knowledge Born? It was the nation. Okay. So, I just want to be clear that, I am a supporter, of the nation. And, I do appreciate those brothers for the work that they're doing in Baltimore. they have solved a lot of murders in Baltimore. So I see what you're saying, John Jukes, in the chat. You said that the Nation of Islam is ineffective these days. Well, maybe where you live, brother, I don't know, but I'm speaking from what I know and where I live. The Nation is very active and very effective here in Baltimore. Like I said, and the crime rate. I mean, the crime is ridiculous here in Baltimore. Somebody dies every day, in Baltimore. But like I said, the Nation, they solve more murders than the police does. In Baltimore, they squash more beefs. At one time, there was like a gang war going on in Baltimore, and the minister of Muhammad Mosque Temple Number 6 sat down with the leaders and got them to stop killing each other. Somebody was dying every day. And he sat down with the leaders of these gangs and got them to stop. He got them to cease fire. He got them to make a peace treaty. Okay. And so, I mean, and it's so easy for us to be online saying things like, oh, they're ineffective. Well, what the hell are you doing? I'm just curious. So if you feel like the Nation, John Jukes, is ineffective, can you please post your programs in the chat and show us how effective your programs are? We would like to implement your programs. Show us the data. Show us the data and show us how your program has ridded the Black community of crime, fixed the racial wealth gap, healed the relationship between Black men and Black women, right? Strengthen the Black family. Show us your nation building plan, and show us how it's been effective. I think that we just sit back. It's easy for us to sit back and talk about what somebody is, what somebody is doing and ain't doing. You get what I'm saying, brother? Now I was born, and the Nation ain't doing this. Dr.Maat ain't doing that. And he said, well, whoa, 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 whoa. We know what she's doing. We know what the Nation's doing. What are you doing? Show us your work. And so I'm at a point to Brother Knowledge Born, and I'll lay off the hater. I'm at a point, Brother Knowledge Born, where when people say things and they throw rocks at folks, I want to see your resume. I want to see what you've produced for our people that's going to push us forward. I know the resume of the Nation. I've seen their resume. I've seen their work. Right? What are you doing? What are you doing to push us forward? Okay. So instead of critiquing and talking about what somebody ain't doing and somebody ain't doing, then you be the solution. You be the answer. If you feel like the Nation is ineffective, or Dr. Maat is ineffective, or Brother Knowledge Born is ineffective, or PLM, we just ineffective, then you be effective. Show us your plan. You go out there and you be great. And that's all I have to say. So, Brother Knowledge Born, do you have any closing words for the listening audience, warrior?
All right. I would say thank you for allowing me up here in your illustrious space. As always, this is a space of education, a space of elevation, correction, redemption, and honor. So this is a sacred space. This is one of the few spaces up here. You're not going to get called the N word and the B word. Like we flock to some of these other platforms by the thousands and the hundreds of millions to be berated, to be demeaned, to be demoralized, and to be disrespected.
Come on.
Just think about many of these things that we call entertainment. We go to see somebody stand up in front of us on a microphone, berate us the entire life of the platform, and then pay extra money to take pictures with them or have your phone out recording that. You see what I'm saying? Like
Come on, brother.
What does that mean about ourselves? Like, how do you see yourself? Like, this is a platform that is righteous and that is.
Ashe. Can you hear me? Yeah, you
That's in the
froze a little bit.
celebratory space. Yes.
Go, brother. Now go keep
celebratory
building.
space for our people. You see what I'm saying? These are the things that we should provide protection for and the absolute support. So it's a place where our ancestors are honored, our elders are respected, and compensated for their time, by the way. Where our peer group, where our thoughts and ideas that are righteous, that ain't in pseudo space, are honored and protected and supported. You see what I'm saying? And where our youth are loved. This is a through line that connects an optimal African society. African society, when it's optimal, honors its ancestors, respects its elders, supports its peer group, and loves and protects its youth. This happens here. This is where this happens. So this is a platform for authentic stories to be told that's around healing, that's around upliftment. Just think about what you ingest and what you watch and what you support and what you push. You see
Come
what I'm
on.
saying? What you push, what your thought equity. Like we be talking about sweat equity, what your thought equity. Like what is surrounding your thoughts. So I thank you for this opportunity, Dr. Maya. I love this platform. Keep on speaking this truth to power because it get rough out here sometimes. You know, the pseudoologists be winning. It look like they be winning.
Yeah, people love when you sell them dreams, and they do. You ain't lying to suit
or drama or beef.
Yeah, the drama. Like if we
Yeah.
were cursing each other out right now, brother Knowledge Born, we have about 1,000 people watching, and we were berating ourselves and berating each other. And I remember, and I'm gonna leave us with this. I remember I was talking to a brother that hit me up. I'm not gonna call his name because it was a private conversation, but I will share what was said. He said, "Doc, I mean, I think you would get more views, if you add a like a nigga element, And he used the word nigga. He said the nigga element, to your platform. You got to give people just a little bit of drama." I said, and you know what I said? My soul is not for sale. My soul is not for sale. My soul is not for sale. If I could go live and one person showed up, I did my job. One person gave me a listen. I've done my job. I want to be true to who I am. And I think that a lot of people in this space aren't true to who they really are. They just do things and say things for the views, for the subscribers. That's it. I'm going to remain true to who I am. And those who see that, they're going to come. And those who don't, that's fine. And that's where I am, brother Knowledge Born. My soul is not for sale. And I'm going to stay true to who I am, no matter who's watching. How about that? See, these people put on shows. What we really look at, brother Knowledge Born, when we're on social media, we're looking at a lot of characters. It's a lot of characters out here, and people fall in love with these characters. Characters are associated with a storyline, with a narrative, and people fall in love with the characters, and they follow the narrative, and they actually believe the story. These are characters, brother Knowledge Born. They talk all that stuff, man. They don't do what they say they doing. And then people throw money in the super chat and cash app these people. They're not offering no tangibles to you, no tangibles to our people, no real work. You don't have anybody other than people online saying, yeah, so and so changed my life. You say, well, show me a brick and mortar. Show me a school. Show me children in the community that you are cultivating, that you cultivated. Show me. Tomorrow, you're going to see my work at 11 a.m. family. Tune in 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're going to hear my students come in, Black engineers, teach about the Black contributions to engineering at 11 a.m. You're going to see Dr. Maat's work. You're going to see it on tomorrow at 11, and you're going to see it on Friday at 7:30. So these characters that you support online, you want to be mindful of that, who you give your support to. Show your work. Tell them, show me your work. What are you doing? Who are you raising up in the community? Who you raising up? They're not raising up anybody, but their bank accounts. That's what they're raising with your support, with your views, with your super chats, with your cash apps. That's what they're raising up, their pockets. And then you know what they do, brother Knowledge Born? Once they raise up their pockets, brother Knowledge Born, then they leave the Black struggle alone. I may do a show called Pimping the Black Struggle. They come in front of us, yeah, Black, all pro-Black, right? All pro-Black. And then as soon as they get online and the subscribers shoot up and they start making some money, then they stop talking Black. They stop walking Black. And then, brother Knowledge Born, before you know it, that Black neighborhood they used to live in, they're not living in that Black neighborhood anymore. I got a couple of people in mind that I'm thinking about. I'm not going to call any names, brother Knowledge Born.
Calling us animals and all of that.
Calling us animals.
Yes.
calling us dumb mother
Yes.
effers and animals. And I'm like,
Right.
wait a minute.
The N words and B words back again. We
Yeah,
back with the N words and
we
the B.
ends and we bees and we some dumb mother
Right.
effers.
Right.
That's what these characters do. But you know, brother, knowledge born, I can't fault them. You know who I have to look at? I have to look at us because we sit there and we support them with our views, with our super chats, with our cash apps. And then when they get on a certain level, they start cursing us. Y'all dumb mother effers. Y'all look at them black stinky mother. And they move into white communities. I've seen it time and time again in the so-called conscious community, even in the Black Lives Matter movement, right? That those three women who started it are rich right now. One girl bought a mansion, living in a white neighborhood. I think they said it's like 8% other. Her house is guarded. She's gone. They're not screaming Black Lives Matter anymore. They mission accomplished. They made their money. And so we have to be mindful. And I'm going to say this again, family, and close. We have to be mindful of who we support. Thank you, family, for tuning in. Please join me back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Sunday, we're going to be discussing the introduction to our first book of 2023. They Were Her Property by Dr. Stephanie Rogers. So make sure, family, that you tune in. Thank you so much, family, for your support tonight. I will see you tomorrow. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you Friday. If I don't see you Friday, I'll see you Sunday. And if I don't see you any of those days, have a black-tastic week and a black-tastic